Do you know why cornflakes were invented?
Why?
Apparently cornflakes were invented to stop people from masturbating.
What? Do you make anyone else do manual labour, like as a guest on your podcast?
Just you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Plank Co podcast. I'm Max, and yes, I am having my haircut at the moment. I'm joined by Alex.
Hello.
Vegan hairdresser, only uses cruelty-free and vegan products.
Yeah.
You can find her on Instagram at alex_in_wonderland.
Yeah, Alex in Wonderland. Yeah.
I'll put a link to that down below, and also at aw_hairdressing. You have two accounts. That's your professional one, isn't it?
I do. That is also linked on my Alex in Wonderland
Perfect.
Instagram. Yeah.
How long have you been vegan for?
I'd say properly vegan for about a year and a half.
Okay.
I haven't eaten meat in about 5 years. So I gave up meat, eggs. I've never really drank milk. It's never really been a staple in my diet. I've just never really liked it.
Convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. I never really liked that after smell. You know when like people have drunk a glass of milk?
Yeah.
And like after a while, if that glass had been sat there for a while, you can smell that real stale,
Yeah.
like milky. And I just never really liked it. When I was younger, I used to have my cereal with water.
Oh, that's cheap.
Fun fact.
Affordable. For me, it's always been hot milk that's always put me off. You know, when it kind of curdles and there's that skin on top of it. Yeah, it really just grosses me out so much.
So yeah, I was really funny. I was talking to my sister about this when I was home. I've never really been... When I was younger, I never really liked butter.
Right.
You know, like butter in sandwiches. Like if you had a ham sandwich and there'd be like a big slab of butter underneath. Yeah, that always made me feel a bit unwell.
Okay.
So I've never really been massively into the milk side of things. Eggs, not a huge fan. Meat, I always had meat. I grew up on quite a processed meat diet. So yeah, it was really just like mainly fish and cheese.
Yeah.
So like everybody's addicted to cheese.
Of course, yeah. That was the hardest for me to give up as well, to be honest.
So everyone has this like weird like cheese addiction because that's everything. All my clients, as soon as you say like what would be the hardest thing for you to give up, it would be everyone says cheese.
Yeah.
They love cheese.
So you do like vegan activism whilst you're holding scissors to their head.
Yeah, you will be vegan. But yeah, no, I do talk to my clients a lot about it. Obviously, I don't push it on anybody, but you would be surprised how many people are just genuinely interested in it. So I can sit and have a conversation with them about it, the whole hairdo really, and they go away going, do you know what, I'm going to try something, I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try that. So yeah, people are interested in it.
I mean, if you offer solutions, most people are quite on board with it, aren't they?
Yeah, I think people just especially mums, a lot of mums worry about convenience, especially where they don't really know where to start.
Yeah.
Going vegan, yeah, you probably have to do a lot of meal prepping if you were cooking for a family, but as well, like if you're so used to eating meat and dairy and eggs and whatever, your whole family then has to change to a plant-based diet, and not everybody might agree with it. You've got to change not only your diet, but the diet of everybody else's. So I can imagine it's quite daunting.
But if you're in charge of the kitchen and they have no real choice, do they really? I mean, it's like, eat this or don't eat. You know?
But then do you not think that's just going to go against... They're going to go against you even more if you try and force them to eat things like that? Especially kids.
Yeah, kids and stuff. I mean, you can't really force anyone to do anything, I mean, these days.
No.
I mean, you can't... But I find kids are very receptive to veganism because they have this very black and white and simple way of thinking about things. Like,
yeah.
They see animals suffering and they're like, yeah, so do you want to do this? They're like, no, I don't want to support this. And it's that simple, really.
True.
Because they're not as moulded into this disconnect that we are these days.
Well, kids don't really know what they're eating, do they? Kids don't pick up a sausage and relate it to a pig, do they?
Yeah, no, of course.
If you ask any... my niece and my nephew, like, for instance, you ask them what their favourite food is, and they're like, sausages, but they would never relate that to a little pig that you're eating.
It's not pig flesh, is it, for them?
Yeah, so I guess, like, with children, especially, if you kind of told them the reality of it, they wouldn't want to eat it straight off.
I mean, if the nursery rhyme "Oh MacDonald had a farm" ended with "They slaughtered all the animals and made sausages," it might have a different take to it. You know, I mean, there might be a different perception.
There's a picture of a slaughterhouse at the end, being like with a cow upside down with its throat slit. They'd be like, absolutely not.
We don't want to traumatise them anyway, do we?
There you go.
Yeah.
A new business idea.
Nursery rhymes, ultra-violent nursery rhymes.
For kids.
Sounds great. As if they don't see enough violent content anywhere on the internet.
I know. But yeah, so it's children especially, I think with mums, because they're just so used to doing their staple meals. They know what they're cooking for the week, and it's easier. I see it in my sister. My sister loves eating veggie meals. When I go home, I cook vegan, and she eats pretty much vegan the whole week, and she doesn't bat an eyelid. She's great. But with the kids and like just having things like on hand really quickly, it's like quick cheese out of the fridge and quick hams and quick like sandwiches and butters and stuff. So yeah.
You do have to change a lot, don't you, day to day? I mean, it took me a while as well, because you kind of have to rethink the way you approach food in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me, I gave up meat 5 years ago, meat and eggs, and it probably, from then on, I first actually decided to go vegetarian, really, because health reasons. I never really considered the cruelty side of it, and I've loved animals my whole life.
Yeah.
And I never really connected the two, because I was like, oh yeah, I would be one of those people being like, animals are here for us to eat. And I had like a major health scare like 5 years ago, and I decided to go on like this juice and raw food cleanse to just like kind of charge my body as such, and it worked really well for me. But then after, I still kind of fell back into that dairy and eggs and things like that, only occasionally. So I'd kind of be like, well, I only have it a little bit. I only have this like once a week. Or I really like fish and chips, so I'll only have fish and chips when I go back to the UK. So like I kind of justified it by doing that. And then I came down with pneumonia last year. And it wasn't until then I really started looking properly at my dairy intake, because by that point I'd given up meat, eggs, fish, cheese, not cheese, like milk and stuff like that. So I was still having like cheese pizzas, and I'd have extra cheese on my pizza. And
because you kind of compensate then, don't you? You put even more cheese because you're not eating the meat and the fish and things like that. Yeah.
And then you kind of then put dairy into each of your meals, because you're like, well, I need it's easy to fill my plate up. So and especially in salads here, they put feta and everything in everything, don't they? So I got pneumonia last year, and it was quite severe pneumonia, but being British, I was like, I'll be fine. Went to the hospital, and they're like, you really need to stay in. And I was like, no.
You got pneumonia in Dubai?
Yeah, so I got pneumonia here. But I think it was mainly through flying and travelling, what they said. They're like, you've had it for a while, it's just festered. So I came down with pneumonia. I had to go on like a asthma pump. As soon as I came off my meds, my antibiotics, I caught sick again. So I came down with pneumonia twice in the space of like a few months. And then I started researching about the dairy, and I came across a lot of athletes don't put dairy into their diet because it makes them perform worse.
Yeah.
So when I started kind of reading in, not that I'm an athlete, by the way, nowhere near, but they were talking about how dairy affects their breathing when they're running or cycling or swimming. So a lot of them don't have dairy in their diets. So then I thought, right, I have to do this now. Like, I can't just be flitting in and out of like being vegan when it suits me. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And especially with the way I work, like, I don't really eat as a schedule. So anything that's quick, I'd be like, oh, cheese sandwich, cheese this, cheese that. So I cut out dairy, and a few months later, the doctor was like, oh, you'll have to be on an inhaler now until kind of you go probably to a fresher climate or whatever. So I came off dairy, And within like a few months, I came off my inhaler. And a few months after that, I was like, God, I've just never breathed better. Like, I don't suffer with like breath loss of like stupid things.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of recovered from my pneumonia, the second bout. Like, I refused to go on antibiotics that time because it was just making me feel worse. So my pneumonia, I kind of came off the meds and kind of did it on my own and like cut the dairy out, did like more like steam baths and did like Google research and stuff. And I recovered quicker from my second pneumonia than I did my first.
Well, just from cutting out dairy,
cutting
basically.
out dairy, yeah. I think so. But like, yeah, it did make a massive difference.
There are big links to dairy and breathing problems as well, because
Yeah.
I have a past of asthma as well.
Yeah.
And even from a very young age, they told me to limit the intake of dairy products because it does affect, I think it's the bacteria or something like that's in dairy.
Really?
That affects the breathing. And even for athletes as well, they say about inflammation and recovery time as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot better when you don't consume dairy.
Definitely, like, I definitely understand that. And I don't know about you, but the more I have given up dairy, I do eat like the kind of Beyond Meat and the fake meats and stuff like that, but the more I'm kind of not eating meat and not eating dairy, when I do eat something like that, like a vegan version, I actually don't really like it anymore. Are you the same?
Yeah, I found that as well. Like, when I saw the Impossible Burger, the Beyond Burger coming out, I was like, this is amazing, I'm going to love it. I had it a few times and I realised that I'm not used to eating such fatty and dense food anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually crave more the traditional plant-based diet, the whole foods and things like that. But I do think these things are great, especially for meat eaters who are looking for kind of cruelty-free replacement products.
Yeah.
And I think that's it is ideal for these people who eat a lot of meat and they're like, well, if I can have this, it's better for the environment, it's slightly better for my health, and obviously better for the animals, which goes without saying. I think it's a great alternative.
I think it definitely made my transition a lot easier. And I always really respect like the old school vegans, you know, that didn't have any of this.
Yeah.
And that kind of went on a whole foods diet straight away. So I really respect those vegans because I'm like, God, you guys are hardcore.
And they didn't have the internet as well.
You didn't have the internet, you just kind of, yeah.
Because now I just Google the ingredients of my fridge, then put vegan at the end of it. I'm like, broccoli, manky, mushrooms, and half a bag of rice, vegan, and then like amazing recipes come up. So that is how I survive, by the way. That's how I cook.
You're not a big chef.
No, not really. That's why, like, on any of my social media, there's not like amazing pictures of this is food I just made. Because I think if I did that, people are like, yeah, I could never be vegan. That looks disgusting.
That's so funny. See, I bake a lot because I was always a terrible. I could never bake cakes or like things like that. So I actually have become quite a good baker, more than a savoury maker.
Vegan baker.
Yeah, like I bake brownies and cookies and stuff like that, and all my non-vegan friends, they love them. They're like, oh, can I have some brownies?
Do you tell them that it's vegan? Or?
I think they know. They must know.
Yeah.
I don't say, oh, here's a vegan brownie. I'm just like, oh, here's a brownie.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you go, oh, here's a vegan brownie, their eyes roll, don't they? Like, oh.
Yeah, this is going to be bland.
But then when you say it's a normal brownie, they're like, oh, I thought you were vegan. So you can't win either way.
But if you tell them it's vegan after, like, yeah, I did taste this slight aftertaste of something different.
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
Yeah. Because people have this mindset that vegan food has to be bland, boring, and tasteless, don't they?
Yeah. And that's the thing. But it's not. There's so many options now that it just doesn't make sense.
And how do you relate veganism to your work as a hairdresser then? Because, like, as I mentioned earlier, you only use like vegan cruelty-free products.
Yes.
So what's the difference between vegan and cruelty-free?
So there's a huge difference actually. When people say, oh, you know, I've got you this cruelty-free product, and you say, oh, but is it vegan as well? They're like, oh, but it's the same thing. You're like, oh, well, not really. So you kind of have to, cruelty-free is not tested on animals, in simple terms. Something can be cruelty-free but not be vegan. So your products can still contain animal-derived products, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that product was tested on an animal. So say for instance, like lipsticks, like a red lipstick will normally have like crushed beetles in it. Yeah, because when you crush like red beetles, you get that real luminous, like red kind of pouty lipstick.
I'll have to take your word for that. I've never tried crushing.
Don't go and buy red lipsticks, Max.
No.
But yeah, so normally lipsticks, eyeshadows will have like a crushed beetle derived products, derived ingredients. Other things like hair oils. Like I was talking to Newbie Vegan Diaries yesterday. We were talking about products, and she was saying that she bought this product. Her mum bought her this product, and she actually looked at the ingredients. It had emu oil in it.
Emu oil?
Emu oil. So what she was saying...
That's like that big bird, isn't it?
Yeah. So what she was saying, they have to actually kill the bird for the oil, but obviously the bird's used for meat, so they like cover it up that way. But yeah, so this cream had emu oil in it. So you really have to, if you're going to do vegan and cruelty free, it has to be both.
Okay.
Rather than... So I'm still learning about that. So I'm not one of these like beauty experts, because I still buy products probably accidentally thinking, oh God.
I mean, we all do. I mean, obviously a lot of people have the focus on the food at the moment, and that's the biggest one. And I'm sure a lot of us do consume products that do contain traces or whatever animal products in them. I mean, you do the best you can.
Can't be perfect.
Exactly. I mean, I think the beauty industry, especially animal testing, that's something that's really on the rise at the moment. There's a lot of awareness about it. There are some brands that even have decided to remove all animal testing from their products.
Yeah. I kind of boycotted L'Oreal for a really long time because I just don't agree with their practice and how they create their products. Even L'Oreal have a range out now that's vegan and cruelty free. So even L'Oreal are kind of coming round to the idea that the industry's moving and nobody really wants to buy a product that's caused like really extreme harm to an animal in a cage. And like when I explain to some of my clients that, you know, some of these animals, because people always relate to dogs, don't they?
Yeah.
And a lot of animal testing is done on beagles, because they're quite smart and, you know, they react really well to like terrible things. And a lot of animal testing is done on beagles as well, but nobody shows you that. It's all rabbits, isn't it? It's all rabbits and mice.
Yeah.
And you see like these animal testing labs, and these beagles have got like one eye, one ear, like leg deformed. They've got these masks on their face, and they've just got chemicals pumping into their bodies. And they've just got, like, if you imagine a muzzle on a dog, but like just a gas mask, and in those tubes are the chemicals that you're being used in your hair dyes and hair products being flushed into this dog, and just to see how he would react to them.
That's awful, isn't it?
So when you kind of tell people that dogs are involved, they get a bit sadder, unfortunately. But
the dog is man's best friend, isn't it? I mean, everyone loves dogs, but it's like the dog festival in Asia, which I seem to talk about a lot. The Yulin Dog Festival, they use dogs for meat, and that creates such a big uproar, but then people go home and eat beef, chicken, pigs, whatever other animal.
Well, that's it. We focus our diet on three main animals, don't we? Chicken, pigs, and cows.
Yeah.
So, but if you notice, we don't eat animals that eat animals. We eat animals that eat plants. We don't go out and eat lions. We don't eat dogs. Well, some countries do, but in a Western
even dogs
world,
are omnivores, really. They're not 100% carnivores.
We don't eat giraffes. We don't eat animals that eat animals. We eat animals that eat plants. So when people have this B12 argument and this like protein argument, it's like I have friends and clients who are B12 deficient who have a really heavy meat-based diet. So I don't really... Yeah.
The majority of people who are B12 deficient are meat eaters.
Yeah.
Or mainly because the majority of the population are meat eaters. But it's a current problem in our society. I think it's B12, vitamin D and iron. They're the most common deficiencies that we have.
Yeah.
But people focus on B12 because they say you can't get B12 from a natural source.
People focus on B12 now because I think we've kind of created the argument on protein, where we can get our protein from.
Yeah.
We know we're obviously all not deficient and we're not dying, are we? So
No, we're thriving on a plant-based diet.
So when people are like, oh, but protein, now we all have answers for it. So now it's the B12 thing. So next it'll be something else.
I wonder what it'll be next, actually. It'll be quite interesting to see.
No one's really focused on where you get your fibre from, though, are they? Fibre's quite a big thing for your human diet.
It's very important. I don't think it's quite as attractive as other things, because obviously it's more to do with like going to the toilet. Like we put a lot of focus. We put a lot of focus on food going in, but no focus on food going out. Like everyone's got an Instagram account about putting food on Instagram, but if someone was putting like, this is what my poo looks like, I don't think many people would be following. But maybe that would be the way.
There is actually a Facebook thing.
Really? Do you know the name of it?
Rate my poo.
Really? I'll have to put a link to that.
Don't ask me why I know that, by the way. I don't go on there daily.
Are you the admin?
Yeah.
Top contributor.
Yeah, there's people on there like that. So fibre is a huge thing, and I always say to people, like, fibre is actually really important in our diets. Like, if you're not going to the toilet regularly, like, and you're eating, say, 3 meals a day, and you're eating three meals a day all week, think of how many meals are stuck in your colon.
Yep.
And in your kind of like body, just like fermenting and giving off all these toxins and poisons, especially meat. Like meat
There's
that
no
gets
fibre
stuck.
in meat.
No, meat gets stuck in your intestines, and that's a major cause of colon cancer and bowel cancer and things like that. So if you think about a piece of meat that's kind of stuck in the middle of your intestine, just like protruding all these toxins.
It's literally rotting flesh, isn't it, inside your stomach?
Years. Yeah. And if your diet isn't high in fibre and it's just meat and eggs and all of that, you're not really getting rid of like 20 meals a week, are you? No. I have people that turn around to me and said, oh, you go every day? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I go like twice a week. And that to me...
How can that be healthy?
Oh my gosh. Firstly, I'd probably be the most irritable person. Like, everything's an issue.
No one wants an irritable hairdresser, let's be honest.
God, and it's just, and then diets are just heavy meat and dairy.
But people counter that now by doing those water flushes. And you
like
can do
colon
that.
flushes.
Yeah, colon cleanses, I think they call it. So you can, a lot of people go to Southeast Asia and they put a tube up your bum hole.
Yeah.
And they basically fire up like 50 litres of water straight up your bum hole to kind of clean it all out.
Right.
First of all, that sounds absolutely awful thing to put your body through. 50 litres is a lot of water.
50 litres?
50 litres. I mean, that's what I've been told. I haven't actually done the experience. And the thing is, it flushes out. I don't know, maybe.
Do a podcast on it.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. I could put the camera in a very appropriate place for that. And apparently it kills off a lot of the good bacteria as well that's in your intestines. So there's not necessarily all good.
And you know what? With those colon cleanses, afterwards, the person will always say, go on a plant-based cleanse. So juice diet, cleanse diet, don't eat meat or fish or anything like that. So it says something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Maybe just go straight with the juice and the cleanse. I found an interesting fact, actually, about some of the animal products found in hair products. Yes. And I don't know if you know why or what it's used for, but I found that sometimes there's whale and dolphin excrements in hair products.
I think that's for, like, the thickness of things. So you'll find that probably a lot in hair gums, you know, like for men. Yeah. So, you know, like your waxes and your, like, creams to hold your hair.
So you're just, like, putting... Oh, that is delightful. Whale poo straight to the hair.
Might as well go straight to the source if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably why. Don't quote me on that, but I imagine that's what it's for. Because usually whale things are usually used for thickening. But yeah, there's a lot.
Because I've never seen it on the back of, like, any form of, like, wax or gel, or that it says this contains whale poo.
No, because it'll be in a really complicated chemical term, so that you never question it.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's true, we're fine with chemicals we don't understand, I suppose.
Yeah, so if you notice on the back of, like, shampoo bowls, it's all kind of like there's sulfates, there's potassium, blah, 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 and it's all these long words that unless you went and researched all of those products, and if you think, like, how many are listed on the back of even just, like, a hair wax, You would never do that really, would you, if you were in a rush and you just needed something quick. But yeah, it's like with e-numbers. You have to kind of Google e-numbers to see where it comes from. There's like an e-number that comes from like beetles and stuff like that that's in a lot of our foods that we just don't really know.
If it's a beetle juice, maybe we wouldn't buy it.
Beetle juice, yeah. So when your lipsticks, your eyeshadows and things like that have got colour of them, you are putting crushed beetles on your face.
That is delightful.
Yeah. But if you did, obviously the women who wanted to kind of come away from that industry, there's really easy, accessible places where you can buy cruelty-free and vegan products from, like the Body Shop, totally cruelty-free and vegan. Really,
all their products.
Yeah, like and you can go in and ask questions about it. But yeah, they're more about sustainable, cruelty-free and vegan. And even if people started off, do you know what? If I was going into it now, and I wanted to kind of do something first, obviously I'd do my food first. I'd cut beef out the diet straight away. But products-wise, if you can't grasp the cruelty-free and vegan thing, personally, I would go for cruelty-free first, just because of the torture that the animal goes through, just so you can look pretty for the day. Like, that would be my main focus. If it's too overwhelming to do both, but there's so many cruelty-free and vegan brands out there nowadays.
What are your favourites?
What are my favourite? I use the Body Shop a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, I use a lot of their things for everything. The Ordinary do really great, like, cleansers, toners, everything obviously a girl's like skin regime is. The Ordinary, cheap as well, really effective. The Drunken Elephant have got a really good range out.
Love the name.
Yeah. Drunken Elephant.
Not tested on elephants.
Pixi have a range out. Not everything's cruelty-free and vegan though, so you have to watch that. But if you want it cheap and cheerful, it is mainly like the Body Shop I use personally. Yeah. And obviously all my hair colours and stuff that I use on clients is cruelty-free and vegan. I use Indola. Yeah.
But the products that aren't tested on animals, do they still test them?
What do you mean?
Or if they're not tested on animals, do they still test them before they put them out onto the market? Or like, what's the...
Test them on what?
Like humans or like walls or...
They must do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know too much about that. But there must be other ways. I think testing on animals is the cheaper way. You can always tell... Like, if a brand is cruelty-free and vegan, then it's usually more expensive.
For sure.
Yeah. So the hair colours that I buy are usually probably... 3 times more expensive than your cheaper tested on animal one.
But also maybe just in production as well. They're not produced on such a mass scale as the...
And they have to test the quality of them in other ways. Probably kind of like human testing, how they react to certain chemicals and stuff like that. So it's more manpower, rather than if you were to test on a rabbit, you can kind of just put the chemicals in the cage and just come back 6 hours later and see if it reacts. Whereas if you're manpowering something, then you're there, aren't you, doing it? So yeah, I guess it's production and testing. Yeah,
because something you see in a lot of products at the moment is carotene.
Yes.
What is carotene?
Carotene is actually a natural protein found in your own hair.
Okay.
So it's found in humans and found in animals.
So we produce our own carotene
We
as well?
produce our own, yeah.
Okay.
It's a natural protein in our own hair that we produce. So, yeah, animals produce it as well. So they'll produce it. So, yeah.
So a lot of the ones that you buy, it's from animal sources though, isn't it?
Yes, it would be from animal hair.
Right.
So was there a thing in cereals, the vitamin A or something was coming from sheep hair?
Really?
Yeah. I learnt that from Newbie Vegan Diaries, I think. Yeah.
We'll have to put a link to it. You've mentioned it twice
already.
I
I know. So I think I definitely learnt that from her because she posted something about a cereal that she was eating. I think it was vitamin A, and it comes from sheep's wool. like their fur.
So
Which is gross, isn't it, really?
Actually, completely unrelated, but funny story. I found out yesterday, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to say it because it's funny. Do you know why cornflakes were invented?
Why?
Apparently, cornflakes were invented to stop people from masturbating.
What?
I'll have to Google this. Because someone told me yesterday, I thought it was funny, and I don't
Is
like...
that even linked?
Apparently...
Because they eat more and don't think about...
It's something to do with the wheat. Apparently wheat doesn't make you want to masturbate. I don't know, that's... I'll have to check this.
Do you not eat wheat anymore either?
Well, I'm not going to get into my masturbation habits. That's maybe for another episode. But yeah. But also, as we're on that topic, apparently that's also one of the reasons that circumcision was invented, was to stop people from masturbating.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Especially with those scissors in your hand.
That is such a weird topic.
Yeah, it is.
You will have to find an expert to talk
on
to you
cornflakes
about that one.
or masturbation.
Cornflakes and masturbation. Do you not find, like, since turning, like, vegan, you have so many, like, you know, like, useful facts, but useless facts at the same time that you just know of?
Well, like the two I just told you?
Yeah. Like, I know a lot more nowadays, now I look into stuff.
But the thing is, when you go vegan, you become curious, don't you? You start to challenge everything, the status quo and everything you've been taught, so you tend to look into it. I always find, you know, people look at you like you're crazy when you're in a supermarket and you're actually looking at the ingredients on the back of things.
Yeah. I always think people think I'm on some, like, weird diet because I'm just there, like, nosing these ingredients.
Yeah.
Especially if you stood next to a mum who's, like, picking everything up just for quickness. I'm like, right, okay. So people do look at you funny. If you pick something up, look at the ingredients and put it down.
I think they just look at you like, I wish I had time for that.
Yeah.
Instead of these two bawling children. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you tend to apply veganism to everything as well. Like, I mean, I would never have thought about a cruelty-free and vegan hairdresser, for example. I wouldn't have applied it to necessarily beauty products. You wouldn't apply it to... It just applies to everything, really, doesn't it? It's in...
Well, that's it. Like, I kind of... I just thought, well, if I'm going to... And I know in myself, like, I know that this is who I'm meant to be. Like, because even when I moved out of my home, when I was younger, I started eating, like, corn sausages and, like, I started introducing corn into my diet a little bit more, so I didn't really want to eat meat. But it was just what I was used to. My family were quite poor when we were younger. We didn't grow up, we weren't flush or anything. I had all my sister's hand-me-downs. And we lived on a diet of processed meat. You know, like those little lasagnas that you get out of Tesco's.
I used to love them.
Yeah.
That was like my favourite meal.
Do you remember Findus crispy pancakes?
No.
A lot of people will know this, right? So me and my sister were talking about them. Oh my God, they were amazing. So little Findus crispy pancakes, they're like this yellow, crispy, coated pancake, but it's just stuffed full of, like, mincemeat. And they were about 50p. Like, they were so cheap. We used to have those with, like, smiley faces and baked beans. That was our diet forever. And, like, my dad was, like, a single parent, so he could only really afford to put us on, like, this real kind of processed meat food. So I always say, like, by the time I was probably a teenager, and even, like, early adult, I was really addicted to all the salt. And, like, I love salty food. I still love salty foods. I love crispy foods, like crunchy food, and like the texture of everything. And it normally comes with deep fried, doesn't it?
Of course,
deep fried and stuff like that. So, like, I feel like as an adult, I was like, oh, I'm really addicted to all these, like, E numbers and salt and, like, all this, like, really tasty, unhealthy food. So I just had to really relearn how to eat again, because I was unwell because of the diet that I had had for so long. So, yeah, it's really... But it's how we used to eat as kids, wasn't it? We didn't have all this, like, that we have now. But, yeah, I would say that I was really addicted to unhealthy way of eating.
I mean, it does obviously depend on your upbringing as well. I mean, my mum has been vegetarian pretty much all my life.
Really?
But that didn't make me vegetarian at all. Like, I always ate meat as a child, always wanted to eat meat, never even really questioned it.
Did she not raise you as a vegetarian, or did you kind of...
I mean, mostly it was healthy food.
Yeah.
Because I grew up as a very small and weak child. I had asthma, eczema. I was a bit of a runt as a child. You know, that little weedy kid who had like eczema all over his face and stuff. So, which explains my red skin most of the time. Anyway.
I've got red skin as well.
So it's improved.
I'm an eczema child, don't worry.
Oh, so to all the eczema children listening, you're not alone.
Yeah, I'm an eczema child.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit of an eczema adult. I had this massive patch of eczema on my shoulder for ages, and as soon as I gave up dairy, it went. It's funny how some doctors are pro-dairy though, even though they know the health risks of it. Like a lot of doctors will say, okay, don't eat or consume dairy from a cow, but goat's milk's fine. Like, have you heard that?
Yeah, I used to drink a lot of goat's milk as a child.
Like, what's the difference?
I have no idea.
It still comes from an animal, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not looking at it from an animal exploitation aspect, are they? I mean, they're only looking at getting calcium.
But does it kind of contain the same ingredients?
I suppose it must do. I mean, hormones especially, it must be similar.
So it'd be interesting to see, like, what's the difference between cow milk and goat milk? So why do you have to give up cow milk to get rid of eczema and all your breathing problems, but yet goat milk seems to be okay? But
that is true.
That's interesting.
That is a very valid point.
Yeah.
There might have to be a future episode with a goat milk specialist.
Get a goat milk specialist.
Not that I recommend goat milk, I recommend...
No.
What's your favourite plant-based milk?
Oat milk.
Yeah?
Yes.
I don't like it in hot drinks, though.
Really? Funny enough, a lot of my clients will... I still bought the tiny little bits of milk, you know, the small ones, even when I was like totally vegan, to please my clients, to give them tea and coffee and stuff. And I stopped it because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm vegan for a reason. Like, I don't want to be buying this. So I'm lucky for my clients. They've had to, like, when they come here, they have like oat milk in their coffees and stuff. And they're really reluctant, some of them, but once they try it, they're like, they either love it or they hate the oat milk in their coffee.
It is quite a strong taste.
Do you think?
I can taste the oat milk, yeah.
They Oatly do a barista one.
Ah, yeah.
And that, for me, I love that. Coconut milk and almond milk, I feel doesn't really sit well in tea and coffee, and a lot of my clients will say that.
Yeah, I find soy and cashew are the best for hot drinks.
Oh, cashew I like.
Yeah, because it's quite creamy.
Yeah.
And quite easy to make, apparently.
True.
I keep saying that, but I haven't made it yet. I keep telling people, make cashew milk, but I still haven't done it myself, so...
Well, I don't think you're prone to making anything, are you?
No, not really.
If you live on a diet of, like, mouldy broccoli.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, cashew milk I love in hot drinks as well. So yeah, cashew and oat milk. Coconut milk in cereals and smoothies. Are you a junk food vegan?
I am such a junk food vegan.
Like, what's your favourite junk food?
I mean, I go out quite a lot, so I practically live off chips.
Oh, I love chips.
I just, like, I go to a restaurant and, like, sorry, we don't have any vegan options. I'm like, great, just give me 2 massive portions of chips.
And ketchup.
That's all I wanted. So, yeah. I do thrive on all the junk food, the pizzas, all that stuff. Like, I love it.
Like, what's your favourite vegan pizza in Dubai?
In Dubai, I really like the Freedom Pizza just released the Beyond pizza.
Oh, I haven't tried
with
that
Beyond
yet.
Meat on it. And I honestly love that because it's so meaty.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So you gave up meat because of the animals?
No, originally for my health as well.
Oh, really?
And I think most people do get there through their health.
Yeah.
And for me, I was tired all the time.
Yeah.
I was feeling I wasn't recovering properly. I wasn't sleeping well. I was putting on weight.
Okay.
So I thought that... And a friend of mine had become vegan, which is Eric, who I started the podcast with, who appears every now and again.
Yeah.
And he was vegan at the time, and I was obviously making fun of him and mocking him and be like, oh, go eat your vegetables, eat your salads and all this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And then I tried to be an open-minded person, so I was like, you know what, I'll give this a try for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I felt really, really good. I think I went fully plant-based for about a week or 2, and I felt really good. I was sleeping better, more energy, the whole thing. And but then to actually go fully vegan, it took me about 6 months.
Does he really laugh at you now because you made fun of him so much?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like animal rights activist. You know, I was in New York like last month and with Anonymous for the Voiceless and all that stuff. So it's crazy how people do change.
That's amazing.
And often it's the people that you think wouldn't be receptive, which I never thought I would be, that actually are the most receptive.
Yeah. I remember when I was training to be a hairdresser, and I worked with this guy, we were really good friends, this guy called Steve, and I worked with this girl called Ashley, and she was a vegetarian. And I feel so guilty saying this now because I feel really bad of what we did.
I love the shame stories. Everyone's got a shame story.
We went to the supermarket next door to the salon and we bought so many packets of ham and we covered her car in slices of processed ham. Like to the point where the handle was covered, her mirrors were covered, like the whole entire car was covered. We probably spent all of our apprenticeship wages on ham, but it was Steve's idea. I was just like a sheep.
Steve, you're a terrible person.
And he would never be vegan. And I've spoken to him recently, and I said, "Oh, guess what? Like I'm vegan," and he just can't believe it because of the amount of like meat that we used to eat. And we did. We covered her whole car in ham, and we watched her while she had to take this ham off of her car. And bless her, she couldn't really touch it, and she took the ham off her door and her mirrors so she could see, and she drove home with ham all over her car.
That is hilarious, but so sad at the same time.
When I think about that, and I think, God, I have actually come a long way.
But I think it's great that we do share these stories. Like, obviously, I'm not saying people should go and cover their friends' cars in ham, but we do try and hide who we used to be.
Yeah.
And people do say, but you used to do this or you used to that. Yeah. But yeah, I used to be a child that used to shit my pants. But I rarely do that now.
I think it's just, do you know what? It's just making that connection, isn't it? It's putting a face to your food. I never used to be able to eat fish that came out as a fish, and just cut down the middle and opened. And I would be like, this isn't what I ordered. I ordered a swordfish. And they're like, this is a swordfish. And I'm like, no.
But it has a face.
But it has a face. I could never, pull prawns apart or, things like that, like crabs and lobster. It'd have to be shelled for me.
Like fish fingers.
Yeah. But that's it, isn't it? It's putting a face to your food. And when your food comes to your plate with a face on it, I'd like to think a lot of people do freak out, but not everybody does.
I mean, I grew up in France. So in France you do get a lot more of the whole fish and the seafood platters. And I was in Peru about 9 years ago. Yeah. And I remember watching them roast guinea pigs. So they would literally kill the guinea pig in front of you, and then they would put it on a spit and roast it, and then you'd eat it. And I ate guinea pig. I didn't watch it being killed because obviously being a hypocrite and being like, I don't want to see this happen.
I can't. I'd rather someone else do it for me, type thing. Yeah. Which
is what we do anyway in society. Yeah. And then I ate that guinea pig. And to be honest, first of all, it doesn't actually taste that nice, so don't bother. Don't eat guinea pigs. No. Don't eat any meat for that fact. Ugh. And it is that disconnect, so it's fine for someone else to do that for me, but I could never have hit that guinea pig over the head, sliced it down the middle, gutted it, and then roasted it on a stick. No, absolutely not.
I always associate these two, weirdly, with fur, and I think everyone touches my cat Max, not you. Everyone touches Max and goes, oh my God, he's got really soft fur.
They say that about me too.
Do they? You've got quite fluffy hair.
Thank you.
And when I think about him being in a cage and, especially rabbit fur, they put rabbits in a cage, don't they? And they rip the fur from them while they are still alive and awake. And some practices, they tie their legs to benches on one side and then the other, so they stretch them out and they literally tear their fur off of them and put them back in the cage while they're still bleeding so they can regrow all their fur to then do it all over again. So they don't kill the rabbit while you're doing that. So I always link that to these guys and I'm like, oh God, I can never imagine you being in a cage and just having your fur ripped from you on a regular basis. But that rabbit fur is in so much of even your day-to-day cheap furs, in H&M and all your little fur baubles and your slippers and your flip-flops, and it's madness. But again, people don't associate their furry trinkets with it being an animal. And as soon as you say it is that, oh, don't be so ridiculous. It feels fake.
Yeah, don't push that in my face. I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
But then even I think that's relatable to the clothing industry as well, and I'm guilty of that. We buy cheap clothes, But then we don't necessarily focus on where those clothes come from and the conditions in which they're made as well.
True.
But then it's like, how far can you go, and can you afford to go, and can you really do it? Like,
yeah, I think like with being vegan as well, like it took me a while, and I really took my time with it, and I know people who did it overnight, like, and I couldn't do it because, I don't know, my life was so consumed around animal products and stuff like that, but I really rate people who do it overnight.
a lot of people, they can do that and then they'll give up after a month.
Yeah.
Because it's too drastic for them.
It's like cold turkey, isn't it? Some
cold
people
tofu.
can do it.
I'm renaming it. It's cold tofu.
Okay. Cold tofu.
Yeah. We can't call it cold turkey if you're going vegan.
Okay. I really rate people who go cold tofu.
Thank you.
But I can't say that quickly. So yeah, I really rate them that do it, but I just couldn't do it. And I think if anyone's thinking of going more plant-based, even if you don't want to label yourself as a vegan, which people don't, do they? There's a lot of kind of hate around that word. Just do it gradually. Like I did mine gradually. People that want to give up meat 4 times a week, you're still making a huge difference to the environment. Like beef is our main thing at the moment, isn't it, with agriculture and the environment and the gases and everything like that. So even if people just gave up
I mean,
beef,
from the health and the environmental aspect, obviously reducing is great.
Yeah.
It's once you bring in like the animal liberation aspect of it, you can't really justify how much is okay, you know. But then it's about being effective as well. You want people to stay vegan, not just do it for like a month perfectly and then give up. You'd rather someone takes maybe 2-3 months and then they stay vegan.
Yeah.
The impact is obviously better long term.
I watched something, I don't know if you saw, I put it on my stories the other day. I woke up, I love watching that Marketplace. Do you watch that?
No.
Me and my trash TV. And it was kind of, they were going undercover in kind of the supermarket industry and the meats in your counters and stuff. And I didn't actually know. I knew obviously supermarket meats weren't as good for you or whatever, but I didn't realise actually if a meat is going off, I knew that they dyed the meat red to make it more attractive, but I didn't realise that they would take the sticker off of a meat that was going out of date, place it with another bit of fresh meat or like old meat. They would dye it red. They would like add more blood to it to make it more appealing, and they would put it through the mincer. So you know, like the beef mincer, and then mince it as mincemeat. So it's got all the redness in it still, but really that meat has been sat on the shelf for like weeks on end.
Delightful.
So that, and there was another one where they like meat steaks, like, you know, you get your lamb, like your pork belly and stuff like that. If it was going off, they would cut it in half and like join it with a fresh bit, but then there would be a lot of gluing, like a lot of like glue, and then they would mould it together, refrigerate it, put in cling film, and then the next morning those two meats would be joined together as if it had never been cut in half. So there's a lot of glues and gums that get involved as well. And I just think people think they're buying fresh meat because it looks red. Like, they dye it red. They make it more appealing to you, so you buy it. Don't, like, flesh is brown, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Everyone's seen a corpse on TV, haven't they? I mean,
yeah. So yeah, fun fact of your mincemeat.
Yeah, and I was reading as well that if then that's not consumed as mince in that format or whatever, meat that's expired, they send it for pet food.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, that's where a lot of pet food comes from.
Ah.
And I did an episode with Tamar, the nutty vegan.
Oh, she's really good with her dog.
With Lexi, her fully vegan dog.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the kind of stuff that you do find in pet food, conventional pet food.
Yes.
And so it can be expired meats, it can be like dead zoo animals, roadkill.
Oh, wow.
All this kind of stuff that they kind of blend up and then put into pet food.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I wasn't necessarily advocating a vegan diet for pets. It was more an awareness about what we're feeding them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's really good with Lexi. Lexi is so cute as well. She's so funny.
Yeah.
But you don't really know, do you? Because you think these little tins of food that you get, anyone can put anything on a tin, can't they, as well?
Well,
Just
yeah.
label it as anything. And that's the thing, when as soon as you say you're vegan, everyone's like, oh, but do you you wear leather shoes? Do you wear this? Do you wear that?
Do you have an iPhone?
So everybody is waiting for you to slip up, aren't they? So like as soon as you... That's why I never said I was vegan for a really long time, because people would just kind of like start waiting for me to slip up on things. And as soon as I slipped up on something, they'd be like, oh, see, you're not genuine a genuine vegan. So it became very hard for me. It didn't become enjoyable for me anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I slipped in and out of it so much, because I was like, oh, I'm not doing it properly. Like, I don't know how to do it, so I'm going to stop calling myself vegan. I'm going to go back to eating dairy because, you know, I can't do it anyway. But it's not about being perfect. It's about every single person in the world doing everything imperfectly, just doing something to reduce everything. Like, because we are consuming too much.
100%.
Like, I think about having children. Now I think about, do I want to bring my children into a world that's kind of technically on fire and just waiting to like burn out? Do I want to leave my kids in a world where they could potentially have to wear gas masks as they grow up? Like, you just never know, do you? So that's a big thing as well.
There is a big debate, I think, especially in our generation, of should we have kids? Is the world ended? Whatever, is there any hope for us? But then there's also the flip side of it, is like, if we don't have kids, if people who are conscious about the planet and trying to make it a better place don't have kids, then it's just going to be overrun by the people that are destroying it.
True.
So, I don't know. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. There you go. How's your hair looking?
I think that is much better.
Yeah?
That's actually very good. I forgot we were cutting my hair. I was just enjoying having my hair touched all the time, just sitting here and just chatting away.
Having your hair touched is nice, isn't it?
It is very nice.
Do you like it?
I do like it. I'm very happy, actually.
We've still kept the front long, like Johnny Bravo.
Exactly. We were going for a Johnny Bravo and Inglourious Basterds.
Just tidied you up a bit.
Also, if you do like my haircut, do check out Alex in Wonderland and get a haircut and have a lovely chat with her like I just did for a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this episode of the Plant Co podcast with Alex. Do check her out on Instagram. She is a great hairdresser. Look how pretty I look today. A lot tamer than I used to be. And tune in next week for another episode of the Plant Co podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.